Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So, today marks the day that I have finally completed watching Stargate SG-1. I have been watching it for about a year now, on and off with my parents, to get through it and to finally actually watch Atlantis properly, and also just watch all the episodes that I haven't seen, and there was a lot of episodes that I did not remember. Today I'll be ranking the first 3 seasons because there's 10. I will be ranking Atlantis, but that'll be in a separate ranking video. So without further ado, we shall get into this. So on a tier list, you kind of know the gist by now. You got the best, good to great, you've got kind of the mid-range, you've got the you're kind of bad, but you're also not awful, and then you have the worst of the worst. And then I have another category here where it says I don't remember, because there are some episodes that I don't remember because I started watching it a year ago and there's so many episodes of the show. So I'm going to put the Stargate film in Indeed. I think this is a very good film. As a kid, I used to despise this film. It was one of my least favourite things to come out of Stargate because I was so used to SG-1. I loved all the regular characters like Teal'c and Sam Carter and General Hammond, and those characters aren't present in the film. So for me, that film was dead to me, which looking back on now is quite funny how much I genuinely had a massive disdain for this film. But now, as I said, as an adult, I really enjoy it. I rewatched it twice last year because I hadn't seen it in a very long time and I was in a slump of watching Stargate, so you know what you gotta do? Watch more Stargate. And I had a blast both times watching it. There was so many things that I picked up on, noticed, and there's a lot of changes between this and Children of the Gods. The showrunners of Children of the Gods, changed some of the lore to kind of fit the show, but also tweak it that it makes it better and works for what they're doing. And I really kind of appreciate that because, it doesn't really matter. It's a film. The show came out 3-4 years later. You gotta change some things. This film is genuinely so visually stunning that I can't help myself but look at several photos of the film and rewatch some bits of it now and then, because it is just a gorgeous looking film. And with the low budget that it had, it's genuinely so impressive. However, every character in this film, almost every character rather, wears sunglasses, and the thing you got to keep in mind with sunglasses is that they reflect. When you're an entire camera crew with reflectors, that might show up. So in most shots where they're wearing sunglasses, you can see the reflector and the crew just there. And there's so many workarounds for that, but I don't really mind because I think it's part of its charm. It's a slightly sloppy film in places. It's very goofy, this film. It's very heavily goofy. But it's part of its charm, and I really like that. I genuinely think that James Spader and Kurt Russell portray really well-established characters. I do think Kurt Russell's character is a little too one-note, but then again, O'Neill is quite a one-note character. But even still, I really do like his performance of how he is dealing with the guilt of his son's sudden death, and kind of his regret of, and the guilt of having the gun in the house, not locked or anything, and just not being there for his child. You can genuinely feel on him in several of the scenes in this film, and he accepts going on this mission to kill himself because of what he has done, because he's divorced, he's lonely, he's grieving, and he's given this opportunity. He's fuck it, I'll go back, I'm retired, but I'll go back to the Air Force. And I genuinely think that, especially in SG-1, I think Richard Dean Anderson takes his character and moulds it into his own, because Richard Dean Anderson said that he couldn't fully do what Kurt Russell does because no one can do what Kurt Russell does. And I really like his portrayal and change of the character. There's slightly more nuances with Richard's performance of the character, and he's also funnier. He's not just mopey and depressed. His coping mechanism is humour. But I genuinely love the wonder of this film and the whimsy, because you can feel it through James Spader's performance as Daniel Jackson. From the moment you meet him to the end, he's so obsessed and loves history and wants to learn more and find out more and discover. And as soon as you see the Stargate open, he's like, holy shit, what have we just found here? and he's just almost every moment loving it and just being part of this world and learning the culture of these people. And it's just a wholesome-ish film. And then you have the really dark moments with Ra, and, you know, again, Ra is a very one-note villain. In the director's cut, which is the one that you should watch, you have the opening scene where that they are kidnapped, and then the gold host makes them, you know, Ra makes them who they are. And it does add a little bit more to that character and doesn't make them that one note anymore. And I just love the costumes, I love the helmets. I really like this film, and I really appreciate it, because we wouldn't have had SG-1 without it. Roland Emmerich has not made anything as good since. I think this is his only kind of decent work, because all of his other stuff is garbage. I'm looking at goddamn Stonewall film. But yeah, that's enough talk on this film. And, you know, let's go on to Children of the Gods, which for some reason is split into two parts when it's just one big feature film. I'm also going to put it in Indeed, but I think I might put it above Stargate, because I think overall this is a slightly more well-developed kind of universe, and especially that they've changed some lore and aspects. It works significantly better than the film does, because the film in places is a little bit janky, which I'm not going to go into because there's a lot to talk about in this. So Children of the Gods picks up an entire year after the events of the film. We are reintroduced to O'Neill as Richard Dean Anderson's kind of portrayal of the character. He, you know, as I said earlier, kind of keeps the same kind of notes for the character, but adds more humour, adds a little bit more nuance and flavour in it. And we see him kind of take this character and slowly develop it out in the season, so it becomes less of Kurt Russell's performance and more of his own, which I really appreciate, and I really just like the way he did it. And when he finally goes back into Stargate Command, we are introduced to none other than Sam Carter, who is played by the wonderful Amanda Tapping, and I'm genuinely so thankful that the writers put in this character, because she is genuinely one of the main people that holds this entire group together, and she's probably the smartest one there. And Amanda Tapping does an incredible performance of this character, and she's also just an incredible actress. You know, I'm not going to say the obvious and, you know, beat a dead horse by saying the line that she says is very on the nose, and even Amanda Tapping didn't, you know, thought it was a bit too much, blah, 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 boring shit. I liked the line when I first watched the film, or first rewatched it. Looking back now, yeah, I don't really like it, but who cares? 90s. Let's move on. And I really like her interaction with O'Neill. At first, she's a little bit, you know, on the fence and, you know, kind of have guards up. And then slowly, with, you know, a bit of banter and whatnot, before they enter the gate, you can see there's a genuinely real connection between these two characters already. Like 5 minutes into them meeting each other, there is a little something there. And, you know, I don't think many other actors could have taken those very few scenes with little interaction between the two and make that connection possible. And then yada yada, they go through the gate and meet Daniel Jackson a year later, and Michael Shanks is genuinely one of the best actors in television ever, in my opinion, and his performance and taking of James Spader's performance is uncanny. He just is James Spader at this moment, and thankfully he tones it down a little, and like with O'Neill, as the show progresses, he takes the character as his own and elevates it to heights that I don't think many people would see coming just from this one episode. And he steals the room. Every single scene, he steals the room. It's so impressive. And I don't think that is even the writing. It is just Michael Shanks. It's just incredible to witness, just see him perform. And then we're reintroduced to Skara and Shah-Ray, and then Abydos is attacked by the Gold, and Shah-Ray is kidnapped. This moment pushes Daniel Jackson to go back to Earth in order to rescue her, but he has to get General Hammond's kind of go to be able to do that, because he defected for an entire year from that mission, and, you know, doesn't really have any say of what he can do. Eventually, blah, 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 stuff happens. So they go to Teal'c, nobody's really there. They venture along for a little bit, meet a few monks, and are taken to the main city, go inside, they are kind of presented at this kind of dinner table, and they're all just wondering what's happening, and two people walk in. That is Sha'Rai and Apophis. Apophis is the main bad guy of the first kind of few seasons of the show. He's kind of like the... If I was to give an example, he's kind of like the Gus Fring. You kind of think he's going to die, but he doesn't. You think he's going to die again, but he doesn't. That kind of thing. That happens a lot on this show. And they're both dressed in this lavish clothing. However, Sha'Rai has been turned into a Goa'uld as well. She is no longer Sha'Rai. She is now hosting a Goa'uld System Lord. The SG team get thrown into jail, and we finally meet Teal'c. And with the very few interactions Teal'c has with O'Neill, and the few kind of moments we see with Teal'c, we understand he's a very conflicted character. He is a literal slave, even though he is a Goa'uld soldier. Almost all the Goa'uld soldiers are slaves. Some of them are believers of the System Lords and the gods. And you can see clearly through Teal'c that he doesn't want to be part of any of this. And again, through the small interactions he has with O'Neill, he fully believes him that they can escape, he can free his people, he can do all the things he wants to do and take down the false gods. So they escape, Skara is shot and taken away, and they escape back home. And at the end of the episode, Kowalski, who was one of the kind of characters that was in Stargate as well, he's kind of joined back to the team, and he's best friends with O'Neill because they've fought together before in many wars and stuff, and he gets hit with one of the Goa'uld larvae, and slowly but surely is infected and turns into a Goa'uld, but we don't see that till the next episode. And also with Children of the Gods, you have the introduction of Apophis, who becomes the main villain for possibly too many seasons. One thing I will say and get into early on, there are some villains in Stargate that stay on for possibly way too long. And, you know, especially because I'm on Atlantis Season 4 right now, there's some villains that just, they need to go. They need to go. They're tired, and we need to move on to something else, which is why, and what I'll get into in one of the next parts of this, is why I love the Ori so much. So I've talked a lot already about these two kind of films because I absolutely adore them. And, you know, you'd think I'd probably put them in Chevron Locked, but, you know, they have, you know, their issues, they have their quirks, and, you know, they're not intended to be masterpieces, and I don't feel like they are masterpieces, and, you know, I just really enjoy them. So yeah, Children of the Gods is above Stargate. And then we have an episode where I know some people don't like. I personally think it's probably the best or one of the best episodes in Season 1. And the entire episode is kind of like this, a little bit like a whodunit, in a way. Like, we have Teal'c, who's this Goa'uld, who's a part of the enemy. Oh, can we allow him to be in the team? Can we get information off of him? Who else wants him on Earth now that he is now here and that many people are aware of his presence? And it just plays with that entire idea. And it's such a brilliant episode from start to finish. And it just keeps you guessing as, is Teal'c actually, you know, on their side, or is still with the Goa'uld? And then Kowalski, you know, find out he's properly been affected with the Goa'uld, he is no longer himself, and genuinely it's really sad to see Kowalski be taken over, because, you know, even though he was a side character, especially in the film, he was like a decent character, but he played his purpose, and I generally don't think they could have done much else with his character, and I think they played it well to O'Neill, who they were good friends. So, and it's a very interesting dynamic to see how that affects O'Neill too. I just think this episode is really good. Then we have Emancipation, which, again, a lot of people don't like. This is the lowest rated episode of the entire show, which I haven't seen this episode in 6 years. So what I'm going to do for this episode is, because I personally don't remember, and I've had many things, seen many people review this episode, talk about it, I'm going to put it in don't remember because I don't feel like I can talk about this one. So, Broker Divide. Now, Broker Divide becomes one of your typical Stargate episodes. This is kind of what you expect with Stargate. And for some reason, they don't stop doing this. as it goes along, it kind of appears like in the later seasons, and it's just like, this is a tired storyline now. We need to move on. But to start off with, I think, is it really? No, it's not Chevron Locked. It's the top of Indeed. It's the top of it. It's a contained location. The entire SG team are stuck on the Stargate base after a deadly virus kind of infects the entire thing, contaminates people, and they become, animalistic kind of brutes, basically. They just become animals. The entire episode, I was genuinely on the edge of my seat. It's a very good, like, horror-ish episode, but is also incredibly emotional. I am going off memory, because I don't fully remember this, but I remember it enough to say that I can talk about it and justify why it's in Indeed. Cold Lazarus. Now, Cold Lazarus is another episode that I really enjoy. Basically, O'Neill, being O'Neill, touches a crystal, gets duplicated into a child form kind of thing, and his current body is unconscious and stuck on that planet, while the other form goes on to Earth, and things happen. That's all I remember about the episode, but I still remember the entire visual of them going to this planet, this crystal planet, it looking awesome, like an actual proper sci-fi-esque place, which unfortunately the show doesn't continue doing because they're restricted to Canadian forests, and that gets really boring after the second season. And it's just a very visually beautiful place, and very good sound design too. That's something I do remember, the sound design being very good. Right, then we have The Nox, which, again, a really good episode of the show, and sad to say the Nox don't really appear after this episode, which is a shame because the Nox are a really cool, alien. So basically, Stargate program might get terminated, and the SG team have to find this kind of technology to kind of benefit them, saying, no, we're actually finding stuff on these planets and, getting actual things to defeat Apophis, blah, blah, blah. Let us stay doing this. The Nox are a very kind of peaceful people. They tend to not be getting to violence, and they have various kind of powers and secrets and whatnot. It's a very weird episode, but it's really good, and kind of it's slowly setting the tone for the show as it goes on. And, it's a very whimsical episode. It's a good vibe. So, Brief Candle. O'Neill hasn't learnt his lesson from Cold Lazarus and touches something again. Again, brilliant episode. O'Neill does something on this random planet and ages rapidly, can only live for about 100 days. And the entire SG team have to try and figure out how to stop this and reverse what's happening. It's going into O'Neill's kind of character and who he is as a person, developing him more, and that's what I appreciate with some of these early episodes. They're very heavy on the plot, but they also try and emphasize the character more, and sometimes O'Neill doesn't really change as the show goes on. He kind of stays pretty much the same. He's not one note by any means, but he has one note attributes, which is just part of his character. He's just a chill guy that does things and tries to do the right thing. That's his vibe. Thor's Hammer, I'm not even going to go there, don't remember. Torment of Tantalus, again, it's like they try and find this professor or something who's stuck in this place. Again, it's a really important episode for the show. I just don't remember it. Bloodlines, I remember loving Bloodlines, and it's where Ryak gets introduced, and I think Ryak is one of the most poorly developed characters in this entire show, and he's just so much of a backdrop that it's a missed opportunity. They could have done so much more of Ryak as a character. Even though I think this is a really good episode, I genuinely don't remember the events of most of what happens. Anyways, Braytak is awesome. That's all I can say. Fire and Water. Again, like Bloodlines, this is a brilliant episode. The only things I remember is Daniel gets kidnapped, the entire team think he's dead, but he's actually rescued by this kind of last living sea creature alien thing, Hathor. Hair 4 is a really boring villain that the show introduces. I will not elaborate. Singularity. Again, Singularity, I believe, gets referenced later on in the show. I don't remember it. On my IMDb, this is rated very highly. I need to rewatch this season. Yeah. So Korra is an episode where they go to this planet and it's very medieval in nature, you know, kind of like, she's a witch kind of thing. And, you know, they see Teal'c's, you know, gold symbol on his forehead and they go, that's the mark of the devil. Chain him to a thing, and, you know, they test theories of, you know, if he really is a spawn of Satan or Satan himself, he would die from this, or this would happen, blah, blah, blah. It gets remade in Season 3, and I don't understand why, because this was a perfectly good episode. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to put this... I don't know if I can put it... I rate it really highly, but I don't... It's like an episode I don't really think about much. I'll leave it there for now. I'll leave it there. Okay, Enigma. I don't remember Enigma. I don't remember Solitudes. Tin Man. Tin Man is an episode I remember because it was one of the first episodes I watched as a kid, but wasn't allowed to watch it because some things that happened in the episode. I snuck my way into watching this episode, and I just remember the visual so clearly of O'Neill taking a knife, jamming it into his hand, cutting it open, and there's mechanical machine parts in him, and they discover that they're robots. Genuinely an amazing moment that stuck with me. And this episode, it's not a brilliant episode by any means, it's pretty good. And actually, you know what? Because it stuck with me, I'm going to put it there. Because it is a really good episode and delves into the psyche and psychological things. There, but for the grace of God... Oh... This is a close one. I'm going to put it in Chevron Locked. Politics. Politics is one of those episodes where it is a recap. There's many recap episodes, and for some reason, Kinsey is in every single one of them. Kinsey is just a Trump character, done well, very well. He's one of the most irritating characters in the entire show, and you want to punch him as soon as he appears. Yeah, it's like a lot of these recap episodes have a cool concept, but they're restricted by the confines of being a recap. Within the Serpent's Grasp, again, I don't remember this episode. Again, I'm going based off of my IMDb page here. It's at an 8 out of 10. That's all I can really do. I'm so annoyed I don't remember that most of these episodes. Like, this list is just... Right, now that I've done this, now that you see this in all of its glory, I'm going to put it as it's on my IMDb page. So that would be there, there. That's how it would be based off of my IMDb. Anyways, next. So for some reason, the first episode of Season 2 isn't actually in the Season 2 section, but if we're doing anything based on that, boom. Don't remember the episode, remember it being really good. That's all I can say. Next. In the Line of Duty, I'm going to put this in Chevron Locked. It's an episode that kind of probably propels and starts the season off, and is very much a bigger season entirely. So Sam Carter gets infected with gold and is given memories of the person before them, called Jonah. Jonah is a Tok'Ra, and the Tok'Ra is kind of these... They're similar to gold, but they are kind of the good gold, quote unquote. They're the good quote. They're the good gold. But that if we are actually looking at it like black and white, they're the good version of the gold, because they're also oppressed by the gold and all that, and the Jaffa, whatever. It gets complicated. Sam gets possessed, whatever. That's all I really remember about it. I've been talking for too long. Prisoners. It's what the episode says. They're prisoners. The SG team, they get imprisoned, and they're stuck on this planet. And there's this woman who's just keeping them there, and it's just really boring. And I tried to block it out of my mind as much as possible. It gets a sequel for some reason. Yeah. Gamekeeper. Gamekeeper, I remember very well. This is a very good episode where, and especially with this season, a lot of characters get possessed. This season is we're controlled or possessed by a specific alien. The entire team get kind of stuck on this kind of machine, and they are shown different realities, and they don't realise it's a different reality until it resets. You know, they all have their different realities, and slowly but surely try and figure it out. I think it was Daniel that figured it out. Turns out it's all part of this game. It's just a big game that these people have created for their own entertainment. Need is a perfectly adequate, fine episode, but I've put it in deep sigh because I'm never going to watch this ever again. It's important for kind of an overarching thing with the show, but it's so meh. That's the same with Thor's Chariot. Again, couldn't give a crap about what happens in this episode because it's just boring. Message in a Bottle. Again, someone gets possessed or taken by something. O'Neill touches this alien ball thing. Spikes shoot out of it, and he's stuck, held up against the wall for the entire episode. Blech. Then we have Family, which is another Ryak episode. Again, they don't know what they're doing with Ryak, so it's just boring. Secrets. I like this episode just barely because it's an actual important episode for the main plot going on. We're introduced to Jacob Carter, who's Sam Carter's dad. He's a really interesting character. He's also a member of the Air Force, and he's kind of like, you know, filtering in and out here and there, whatever. And then we have Daniel's side of the story where he goes back to Abydos, there we go, I remember now, Abydos, to meet with Shara, and he finds out that she is pregnant but also kidnapped or something. I don't know. It's just this setup that there's a baby, whatever, might hold the key to the golds, boring Jesus shit. Bane, it's an alright episode. Again, character gets taken over by something. It's a very tired plot that this season does, but this is a good episode because it's kind of like The Fly. Well, it is basically The Fly, just with Teal'c, and it's kind of Teal'c's introduction to the wider world and meets people, and it's kind of being, you know, let out more, and they're just trying to figure it out. Then we have the Tok'Ra. Oh, I'm splitting these up because part 1 is very slow. Finally get introduced to the Tok'Ra. We also find out that Jacob Carter has cancer, and they're trying to figure out what are the benefits from the Tok'Ra. What can we do here? How can we fight the goal and take them down? The entire episode revolves also around Jacob Carter takes on a Tok'Ra host and ends up being a diplomat with the Tok'Ra as this episode goes on, and in the future of the show. We're also introduced to another Tok'Ra character who's kind of this love interest with Sam, but not really, who appears a decent amount in the show, but leaves eventually. And it's just a good, solid two-parter. Then we have Spirits, which is an episode where they need new resources and new technology, and find this planet where they have been mining those resources and technology, but is stopped by spirits and this native kind of alien race on this planet. And it is a really damn good episode, I will say. And I'm actually going to rejig this. It's a really good episode. Touchstone is kind of... It's kind of played out to be this kind of bottle episode, but ends up being a really important episode for the entire show as it goes on. Basically, they find out there's another Stargate on Earth, and the entire episode is trying to figure out where it is, who owns it, what's going on, and it's also, I believe, where the NID are introduced. The NID are these rogue agents, and they're just stealing stuff from other planets. But it's a really, really good episode. I'm going to put it there as a really good episode, and is an episode where many things could have gone so wrong, so unbelievably wrong. A Matter of Time is a brilliant episode where we learn so much more about the Stargate. We find out the Stargate can last open for about 38 minutes. After those 38 minutes, what happens? There's a black hole that keeps the Stargate open and is slowing down time in the SGC base. And I just realised I skipped ahead. Fifth Race is a good episode, I'll put it there. We're introduced to the Asgard, the kind of main alien people, and then the humans kind of become the fifth race in this kind of massive kind of group of people. Good episode. You know, I prefer many other episodes in the season, Matter of Time being one of them. Really good episode. And then we have Holiday, which is an episode where I understand why people rate low. The concept isn't that, mind-boggling, especially after the past 3 episodes that we've had. We've found out there's a new Stargate. We found out there's an entirely new alien race that are powerful. We've had massive episodes, and this episode is really low stakes. Basically, there's this device, and there's this old man in this kind of building, and tells Daniel to touch the device while he's touching it, whatever, and Daniel's body is controlled by this old man. He's living inside Daniel, and kind of experiences what a young body feels like again, and experiences Earth, and, conversing with people, and learning about things. And while during this, they're trying to figure out, how can we use this device to get Daniel back? Because Daniel's just disappeared. Into town, whatever. He meets this dude, becomes friends with him, blah, blah, blah. Seeing Michael Shanks' performance playing this frail old man with so much knowledge and just kind of living and understanding this place. And you also have, Sam, O'Neill, and Teal'c, who have also connected to this device, and Teal'c and O'Neill switch as well. So you finally see Christopher Judge play somebody who isn't, indeed, all the time. And it's awesome. And it's really funny just seeing these 2 friends develop and seeing how they've kind of rubbed off of each other throughout the year of playing these characters and picking up on things that the other character does. It's a really good episode in terms of just performance and just entertainment. And I think it's one of the best episodes of the show for me. I love it. One Full Step is an episode I watched very early on with my Stargate journey. I watched it when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I watched it so much. Now I think it's one of the most average episodes ever. It's basically a 60s Star Trek episode. Kind of typical, people are dying because of this weird infection virus thing, but what is actually going on, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. It's a bottle episode. 1969, the highest rated episode of the show. And I absolutely despise it. My biggest issue with it, and my biggest gripe, is things go so smoothly for these characters. Things go way too smoothly, to the point where I can only suspend my disbelief so much. It's so convenient how, we just met this person that can help us. They have this thing. We can actually get back home, whatever. And it's just so boring that way. There's no concern. There's barely any conflict. The conflict lasts like 5-10 minutes at the beginning of the episode, where they're in the base, and they meet young General Hammond and whatnot, and then get like arrested or whatever, and they have to try and convince Hammond that they know each other, whatever. And it's just so poorly done. And it could have been a really good episode. I just don't understand why people like this so much. It doesn't deserve the hype, it doesn't deserve the rating. Then we have Out of Mind, which I'm going to put an image here of how they defile Daniel's hair. Now, Daniel had long hair in the first 2 seasons, including the film, his luscious flowing locks, and then as the show goes on, season 3 onwards, they give him a haircut, which looks far better, not gonna lie. In this episode, they just butcher it. This episode also butchers a finale. It's just a recap. Hathor comes back. It's bad. It's very bad. Now, that's season 2 done. Into the Fire. Now, Into the Fire is the beginning of season 3, and it's a good episode. We finally get a good episode. Daniel's hair is fixed. Hathor is an actual threatening villain in this. So many things could go wrong. They make it out in the end. And I think this is a very good episode. I wish it was in this, because then I could actually do a proper rating, but... Oh no, it is. It is there. Awesome. Indeed. There we go. Good episode. I'm definitely going to see myself rewatching this episode, especially this season. If I'm going based off of season 1, 2, and 3, season 1 is very good, even though I don't remember it. Season 2 is half bad, half good, with an awful finale. So it's very much a mixed bag. Season 2 is where they finally find their footing and stop doing certain stories that are grown tired. They still did a couple here and there, which is completely fine, but this season is kind of where the show becomes an actual proper series. This is where they find its footing, everything's settled. barely any bad episodes in this season. Fair Game is a really, really good episode. Basically, it's, again, building diplomatic relations with other people. 3 gold system lords enter the SGC and have this diplomatic meaning of, can we make a treaty to negotiate things? What can we do? You know, and from what I remember, the Asgard is in this episode too, and they're kind of there because the Asgard have, you know, power and protection over Earth. And it's just a really good episode of seeing who's good at doing diplomatic stuff. What does this mean for Daniel's character? Where is he going in the future? Because Daniel was a big, important player in this episode because he's trying his hardest to make this go smoothly. One of the System Lords gets murdered, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And then we find out who it is. Whatever. Goes smoothly. Whatever. Happy days. Legacy is an episode where it kind of goes back to those season 2 things of a character gets possessed, but this is an episode where it actually is important and is a great episode where Michael Shanks' acting skills get to shine. I'm going to put this... Oh, where do I want to put this? I'm going to put it there. It's a really good episode. They basically find this kind of old ancient chamber full of dead gold. Daniel's kind of like trying to find stuff, and then Daniel gets exposed to parasites that killed all of these gold, and it basically drives him insane. If you can't tell by the image here, he's kind of like in a straitjacket for some of the episode, and it's just really interesting seeing what the effects of the gold could have on people after dying. You know, it plays around, and this is a very experimental season of what could happen with the gold. What's going on with these people? How does it affect humans? Again, this season, I can't stress enough, it's just good, solid television and sci-fi. Point of view. So basically, the quantum mirror comes back from there, but for the grace of God. There are alternate versions of Kowalski and Carter in Area 51. Sam is constantly trying to... Our Sam, not alternate Sam, is constantly trying to figure out where has she come from, what's going on, how can we figure it out. And we see a bunch of different alternate universes and different gold, just many different scenarios of what could happen. It's a big what if episode and explores it very well. Dead Man Switch. Okay, I don't like this episode, but I cut it slack because, again, this season is heavy on setting up things, but follows through it very well, so I can accept this. It's done good, not done goofed. The SG team go on the planet, bump into a bounty hunter who's tracking gold, but informs them they all have prices on their head because word is spreading out about this team from Earth, including their names and stuff and some of their backgrounds all over the universe. And it makes the Stargate world that much bigger and that much more scary because now they are targets, not just from the gold, but many more people. This is an episode where the Teal'c ship is introduced, I believe, and explores possibilities of what if they could obtain one of these ships. Demons, I don't know if I really want to rate because it is just that episode from season 1, which I forgot the name of already, and it's just that much worse. It's not that good. I'll put it adequate. You know, I rate it higher than Seth, but, you know, it's an episode that already exists with the exact same cast members. So, I don't know, man. Forever in a Day. I don't remember the entirety of this episode, but it's the first episode I will be putting in Chevron Locked because it's a Daniel episode that is very, very important for his character developing for the rest of the show. And you can see it in several episodes and a couple episodes in the season of how he is doing. Shara comes back, his wife, and it's just a big episode but just between those two characters. It's kind of a contained story but also not. I might rewatch it today actually. Poor Daniel. Jonah's Memories is one of the best two-parters in this show. Where's Devil You Know? Devil You Know is a masterpiece. This two-parter is so good. Basically, Jacob Carter has been kidnapped by Sokar and is imprisoned on Nitu, which is basically hell, and it's a prisoner planet, basically. It is how hell is. And it's basically just them trying to rescue Jacob from hell. I believe also in this episode, Apophis comes back, but his ship is destroyed. And we're also again led to believe he is dead again. But no, he's alive. But yeah, again, it's annoying that I can talk about the rest of these episodes, but the 3 I have in the top, I just remember the basic things and nothing else. Foothold. Foothold is a classic episode of Stargate. Basically does what the packaging tells you. Foothold situation in the SGC. Bunch of aliens kind of duplicate themselves as members of Stargate Command. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it is awesome. 100 Days. 100 Days isn't spectacular, but it is a very good episode, and I cried watching it. Meteorite crashes down on a planet, and the SG team are trying to get everyone out of there, but O'Neill gets trapped and stuck in a cave with a bunch of other people. They make their way out, and the Stargate is no longer there and is buried. And it's just watching O'Neill live a new life and trying to adapt to this new life, and just being in this place and, potentially find love again. And it's just a really sweet but also sad episode, and it's just a brilliant development of O'Neill and Richard Dean Anderson. Doesn't need to put much effort into playing O'Neill because he's just a chill guy, but he actually does so much with just the conflicts of what's going on in this episode. And you can just see that conflict when he finds the gate and he's like, do I stay and actually live this life with this woman and marry her? Or do I go back to everything? And it plays with the two lives so well. Shades of Grey, we go back to the Tolan world, I think. And O'Neill gets accused of stealing alien technology and keeping it for himself. But turns out O'Neill is doing a secret, covert Stargate operation, and basically some of the characters from Touchstone come back with the other Stargate. What do I want? I'll put it there. Even though I think Devil You Know is probably better, Shades of Grey is just a masterpiece. And again, expands the world so much more for these characters. Again, an O'Neill-focused episode, but this season, when it focuses on a character for several episodes in a row, it does it tastefully and it does it well. And there's an actual core reason why. And then you get to Atlantis when there's about 100 Rodney episodes in a row and it gets really tiring. I can't wait to do that video. New Ground, yeah, that's just how I feel whenever I see this episode. It's not bad, it's just, really, we're doing this plot? It's just boring. And this is the problem with this season, in my opinion. The last few episodes suck balls. And it's such a shame because this season was on a steady but high trajectory, but kind of doesn't plummet, just a little nudge down. And that's a shame, because it affects my overall rating of this show. Well, not the show, this season. Maternal Instinct, again, an important episode. I think it's absolutely abysmally boring. Deep sigh. Daniel's the main character. Ascended are fully introduced. We meet an Ascended being. What's going on with that? Shari's baby, I believe, becomes Ascended or something? I don't remember. Whatever. It's the beginning of the Ascension arc, kind of. Crystal Skull. Oh, I really don't like this episode. Again, it's not bad, it's just so much lower than the rest of them. And I don't care. When I was watching it, I didn't care about anything that was happening. Especially after watching New Ground and Maternal Instinct, I needed a couple days break from binging it. And then I came back fresh, open-minded, and I just get bombarded with mid. And it's such a shame, because this episode could be cool, but I just didn't care about any of it. Nemesis is I believe it's the beginning of a ongoing joke throughout the show, and I love it for that reason. O'Neill wants to go on vacation or his fishing trip or whatever, but the Asgard beam him up to a ship, and Thor is just like, you know what? Your day's not going to be a day off. You're not going to have a vacation. I'm going to tell you something really bad. You're going to get bombarded by aliens soon. Not the gold, someone else. This episode is rated insanely highly. I don't think it's that good. I think it's a good episode. I don't think it's that good. But this is where we're introduced to the Replicators, which is one of the most overused villains in the show. Same with the Gold. But the Gold kind of disappear eventually, so I don't mind them as much. Replicators, I hate the Replicators so much. This episode, I'm going to put it there. Even though it's more adequate, I'll put it there because it sets up a lot of good stuff in the series to come. And I find it so funny that whenever O'Neill wants a break, he doesn't get a break. So yeah, that's the ranking of, Season 1, which I'll have it on screen, Season 2, and then Season 3. Season 1, while I rate very highly and is higher than both of these seasons, because I don't remember most of it, it doesn't play into that much. It's better than Season 2. Season 2, I think, is fine. It's mostly a setup season, but doesn't contribute much in terms of good storytelling and reuses it just basically feels like Season 1 2.0 instead of something new, and that's why I love Season 3 so much, because it is something new and changes the show as it goes on, and that's what the next few seasons do, aside from 2 seasons in this show where it feels like a setback. Overall, I'm going to give Season 1 an 8 out of 10. Overall for Season 2, I'm going to give a 6.5. And then overall for Season 3, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Maybe an 8.5 now that I think about it. But some of these episodes definitely bring it out, and especially the finale. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and hearing me rambling on for however long. Hope you enjoy your summer, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.